Welcome back to the channel, horse racing fans. We are just less than a week away from the Cheltenham Festival now, and the content will be building up throughout the week. There'll be plenty of tips. There'll be a video for each day of the festival. But first, because we are still a week or so out, we are just going to get a few dark horses in there that I think are well worth sticking in your track and monitoring over the next week or so. That should be lining up at the Cheltenham Festival. I've got 3 horses all together. We'll kick off with the first one, which shall run in the county hurdle on the Friday. The Harry Fry trained Jin Coco. Harry Fry, of course, does have a decent festival record. He won the Mayor's Novice Hurdle last year with Love Envoy. Hopefully he can get another win with Jin Coco here, who I think is very well handicapped. He's definitely got something in hand. The question is how much does he have in hand over the English handicap? I think he's got definitely a few pounds. I think the race will suit him. He was run at the back end of last season over in Ireland, and not many horses go from England to Ireland, especially to run in the handicap, and he finished second that day, touched off just by a progressive sort. He was gone on to much bigger and better things since, and he is a 7-year-old, but he's extremely lately raced, especially for this trainer. He averages kind of 2-3 runs a season. He goes really well fresh, and he started this season off in a novice hurdle, and I think he could have won by 20 lengths if he wanted to. He ended up winning by 4. There was 2 loose horses that caused absolute carnage, and I think in hindsight Harry Fry would have been having an absolute heart attack watching the race, but in hindsight he probably did protect his mark slightly, and the way he travelled, he jumped well. That's probably one of his main assets. He travels strongly and he jumps, which he did that day. Then backed it up in the Great Wood at Cheltenham, of course getting that course and distance form under his belt, which will definitely put him in good stead. He was second behind I Like to Move It. The form of the horses in behind has been mixed, but there has been quite a few winners that have come out and won weaker races since, but the form is decent enough. I think I Like to Move It won, and I think just because the hurdles were omitted, I think that suited him a little bit more. He was probably a better bumper horse than Jin Coco was, and without jumping a hurdle in the last kind of 4 furlongs of the race, I think that definitely suited him more than it did Jin Coco, who probably jumps better than I Like to Move It. So I think he was just kind of touched off up the Cheltenham Hill. Maybe he didn't fully see it out. Maybe if there was hurdles, that might have affected the pace of the race, and he might have seen out the trip. He was sent off a strong favourite. He finished second behind I Like to Move It. The form of that has worked out very well. I Like to Move It did win by about 15 lengths just a couple of weeks ago in a Grade 2, beat Napper's Hill. And yeah, I think the form of that, I know Napper's Hill did underperform, but I Like to Move It. Some people think this horse is going to place in the champion hurdle. So if Jin Coco managed to finish just a couple of lengths behind him, that form definitely is good. But I think the style of the race will suit is coming into this fresh, which the trainer can do very well. He can already run after a break, and the horse has proved that he does go well fresh as well. So it's about a 10-1 shot in the market. He has been well found. I did back him probably not much longer than 2 weeks ago at 16-1. He's down to 10-1. I definitely bet on him again at 10-1. So I think he's going to run quite well in that race. Another horse running on the Friday is also a 10-1 shot, Comfort Zone in the Triumph Hurdle. Now, Willie Mullins has loads of horses in this, and chances are one of them will be freakishly good, if not 2 or 3 of them. I think Gala de Marseille is solid. I think Lossiemouth is extremely talented as well. Blood Destiny, we don't know how good that horse is, but you think one of them 3 probably would win the race. But just for an each way angle, a horse that has been overlooked is Comfort Zone, who showed some decent form in Ireland, was beaten by Lossiemouth. I think plenty did go wrong that day. Then the horse came over and won at Chepstow in a Grade 2. That was in very heavy conditions. So off Dixon Cove, who was probably a little bit more of a stayer over the trip. The horse Dixon Cove came up sides, and Comfort Zone found more and was definitely the best horse in that race that day. Only won by a neck at the end of the day, but you left Chepstow thinking that we've seen a half decent horse here. He backed it up at Cheltenham on trials day. He beat Scriptwriter. Both of them was carrying a £5 penalty, and there was some decent enough horses in behind as well. The top 2 pulled very far clear of the third, which was impressive because it did turn into a sprint as well. You'd expect them to finish in a heap. Scriptwriter got the run of the race. he got first run on Comfort Zone and he got the rail, which is so favourable at Cheltenham, and he still didn't manage to win. Now, I think the Scriptwriter is a very good horse. I don't think he'd be up to this level, and he did kind of bomb out next time, but he was never going a yard that day and didn't jump well at all. So it's hard to knock the form when the horse just clearly didn't perform in the Adonis Hurdle at Kempton. But I think Comfort Zone did very well to win that race. He showed a good attitude and a turn of foot after the last, because Scriptwriter jumped the last probably with half a length in hand, and it's a short enough running at Cheltenham after that last. Comfort Zone found plenty, didn't have the rail as well, but he stuck his head down, and I think he's a very talented horse. Maybe not as special as the horses at the top of the market, but his attitude, he'll travel in behind the pace well, he jumps well, and I think he's a solid horse with a lot of ability. So at 10 to 1, I would be surprised if this horse cannot run into at least a place. If things go his way, he could even go and win this at 10 to 1. Now, the last horse is going to be another Irish horse running in either the Martin Pipe or the Coral Cup. He's entered in both for Gordon Elliott. It's Au Fleuron, who ran very well in the Martin Pipe last year, finished 7th. He comes back off a lower mark, and he kind of has had a little bit of a mixed season. After the Martin Pipe, he ran in April, bombed out, and finished, I think, near enough last. He then had a break, he came back and didn't show much. And then he ran in a chase for the first time, didn't take to fences at all. And usually these horses, when they go back to hurdles, you think they're going to do better than they actually do. And the first run kind of is a little bit iffy, just getting back used to jumping hurdles and the rhythm of a hurdle race. He ran very well over Christmas time. He finished 3rd. He was beaten a fair way from the 1st and 2nd, but I think the performance was very impressive. And I think he comes back to Cheltenham off a £2 lower mark than he did when running really well. And he's had since Christmas to be primed for one of these races. He's going to come into it fresh, which his record suggests isn't a bad thing. If he runs in the Martin Pipe, Gordon Elliott has no end of talented conditional jockey. So whoever Gordon Elliott put on this horse, I would fancy the horse to run well, especially if they take off another couple of pounds. So if he runs in the Martin Pipe again, he's about 40 to 1 for that race. I think that is way overpriced. I think he can run a very big race. He's also in the Coral Cup over an extra furlong. That'll probably be a little bit more competitive. I'd rather see him in the Martin Pipe just because he does have form, and Gordon Elliott has plenty good conditional jockeys to put on board. But I think this horse is going to be primed to run well wherever he turns up. He's 40 to 1 for the Martin Pipe. He's 25 to 1 for the Coral Cup. I'm going to back him non-runner money back in both of the races. Hopefully he at least turns up in one. And if he does, on the day, if you can get them extra places, I think he's going to run well. He might not be well handicapped enough to win this, but with the change into the system where you've got to have 4 runs to run in a handicap at the festival, you think there's not going to be as much progressive horses like a State Man or other horses that ran even in the Martin Pipe in previous years, like Galopin de Champs. So it might not be a vintage renewal of horses that will turn out to be Grade 1 horses. And I think this horse is solid. He jumps well, he travels well, he stays their trip if it's 2 mile 4 or 2 mile 5. So I think he's going to run well, and he'll be my final dark horse for the Cheltenham Festival. So to recap, 10 to 1 for Ginkoko in the County Hurdle, 10 to 1 for Comfort Zone in the Triumph Hurdle, and Au Fleuron at 25 to 1 and 40 to 1 in the Coral Cup and Martin Pipe respectively. So they're my dark horses to follow. I think they're all going to run well. I've backed them in a very optimistic treble just in case as well. So that's all from me. Next up, we'll be looking at day 1 of the Cheltenham Festival. All my tips throughout all 7 races. So thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment with your dark horses for the Cheltenham Festival, and I'll see you again shortly.